Hi everyone, it's Nichol Spohr here today for Spellbinders, and thank you so much for joining me. Today I'm sharing a set of 4 cards featuring the Spellbinders July 2019 Glimmer of the Month Club Kit called Glimmering Sentiments. This month's kit is filled with amazing sentiments and coordinating dies to create awesome glimmered greetings for all of your cards. I'm even incorporating last month's, June's, Spellbinders large Die of the Month Club Kit dies, this awesome sliding window die, with these Glimmering Sentiments for my card shares today. I've used the sentiments as the center of these fun little pop-up wreaths. First, I'm going to take my large Die of the Month and die cut the window die for the front of my card. In addition to the large die of the month, I'm going to stamp this awesome Flannel Life cling stamp background from Fun Stamper's Journey onto my cardstock to give it some really fun texture for a tone-on-tone look. I'm using the Cool Pool cardstock from Fun Stamper's Journey and this Flannel Life plaid background, and I've done this all in the Misty so that I can be sure to get it stamped perfectly every time. I'm going to clean the ink off of my stamp but leave it in the Misty so that I can stamp my next background in a little bit. Let's go ahead and put our first card together. For my first card, it's going to be a Wishing You Well encouragement style card. I'm simply folding the score lines on the slider window, using a bone folder to get nice creases. I've also die cut the pull tab part of the slider from some Fun Stamper's Journey whipped cream cardstock. I'm going to put some 1/8 inch double-sided tape along that small edge on the back of the slider window, then line up the pull tab portion of the design. It will overlap the sides a little bit, and that's what's going to make this slider window work perfectly. You can line up the top of this component with the top of the window die, and then you can see it slides perfect. So much fun. This is one of my very favorite interactive card shapes and designs, as I love that the little pull there pulls up to reveal a sentiment inside. My cards are going to be completely flat, meaning I'm going to create a backer for this, but anything that you want to handwrite will be inside of the little hidden place behind the slider window. I've used the components from the June Large Die of the Month Club Kit to die cut some Lemongrass Fun Stamper's Journey cardstock, 2 of these half circles, and combine them with a little liquid glue to create the base of my wreath. Then I've glued only the bottom portion of this to the bottom of my slider window. You don't want to attach anything to the top part, as it won't be able to pull up nicely. So anything attached to the top of the wreath needs to actually be only on the circle and not glued to this bottom panel of our sliding window. I've also die cut a whole bunch of awesome flowers using different Fun Stamper's Journey cardstock colors, and I'm going to layer these and create some really pretty little floral clusters around the wreath. The one on the right side is going to be a little bit bigger, a little fuller, and then the one on the left will have just a couple of flowers. I guess maybe I ended up using 3 total. I'm going to work on continuing to glue and add little pieces here and there, attaching things with liquid adhesive, and also using tweezers and my Spellbinders tool-in-one to help position and place everything exactly where I want them to go. I make sure to pull up the pull tab frequently while I'm assembling the wreath to make sure no liquid glue is attached along the edges of this design. It's okay if part of the flowers or whatever you're using to embellish your wreath overlap the edges, but you don't want any of that adhesive to attach to the edges or your slider window won't work. I'm using the Stylus tip, the largest one, for my two-in-one to give my flowers some shape. I'm using the foam side of the Spellbinders mat and just using that stylus to swirl it around, which gives the flowers that natural floral shape that we all love. As I was working on my cards, I realized I probably should do any stamping ahead of time. However, I didn't for this first card design. It's totally okay, but for the future cards, I did try to stamp my sentiments before assembling the wreath just to make it easier and not worry about having to brush away excess embossing powder. If you're not using embossing powder and you're using regular dye ink pads, you won't have to worry about that. The embossing powder just tends to like to stick to all these little die cut pieces. I have got lots of bright floral or bright colors for my flowers here. I love the assortment of Fun Stampers Journey cardstock. I know I talk about it a lot in my videos, but I absolutely love it. It die cuts beautifully and it comes in so many amazing colors. Perfect for die cutting all of your Spellbinders dies. I really love mixing and matching all the different club kits to create one-of-a-kind unique designs. This sliding window die collection is definitely one of my favorites, and I will be linking to another video at the end of this one where I used these dies for other style of cards using the June card kit of the month. So if you want some additional ideas on how to use this sliding window die, you can check that out at the end of this video. Now along the bottom edge of our sliding window, we don't have to worry about keeping the flowers directly on the circle so much. So what's great about this is I can just add those, kind of pull them in a little bit so that I can make it a little bit fuller down there, since I didn't put any cardstock back behind my wreath. If you want to put vellum or a contrasting color of cardstock behind the circle wreath before you put it on your card, you could totally do that as well. I left mine open so that when you pull up on the sliding window mechanism, it just shows through clear or, open to the other side. So we almost have all of our flowers here. We're just going to continue adding a few more. I'm going to speed through the rest of this process to save a little bit of time since it's simply assembly of all of the elements. I'm also not going to be creating all of my sliding window cards on camera. I will show you, though, sliding all of them at the end of this video so you can see the little reveal of what I've stamped inside, as well as how each of them work for the different themes and occasions that I created them for. We're going to be using the Glimmering Sentiment from the July Glimmer of the Month for this first card called Wishing You Well. This would work for so many different themes or occasions. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to make this more of an encouragement style card, but you could definitely do a get well kind of design. I think depending on what colors and the theme of the card that you're putting this on and the additional sentiments you use, it could maybe be a wedding card or something like that. There's lots and lots of different choices for this. So I have plugged in my Glimmer hot foil machine so that it's heating up. I'm going to set aside my wreath to completely dry, and I'm going to foil my sentiment on a scrap of whipped cream cardstock. Now, included in the July Glimmer of the Month Club Kit is not only all the sentiments and the dies that coordinate, but a roll of pewter foil. And this is an awesome color. The pewter is super, super pretty, and I think it works with so many different themes, which I absolutely love. You want to lay your Glimmer plate on the platform, place the foil with the shiny side down, the dull side up, then your cardstock, your spacer, and the plate. I also used a shim and found that that helped really foil the sentiments much nicer. So I just used kind of a little piece of plastic, actually. It's really thin. It's the backing paper from the Fun Stampers Journey Flannel Life stamp that I used, actually, and I found it to be the perfect shim. Then I went ahead and die cut Wishing You Well with the coordinating die. I have it laying here. I haven't really secured it yet. I'm using it as a guide to know where I want to put my sentiments. I'm going to put sentiments on the inside, the back panel of the card. I've just trimmed another piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch Cool Pull cardstock for the back of my card that I'm going to stamp a sentiment from a Simon Says stamp set. This is the encouraging, or Tiny Words Encouragement rather, stamp set that reads, "This will be worth it, hang in there." I'm going to stamp this with clear embossing ink and heat emboss with white embossing powder. I like to stamp my sentiments twice to make sure I have a very good impression, then sprinkle on my embossing powder and heat set that. On the front of the card, on our sliding window, this is where I'm going to add another sentiment, and I'm going to do the same kind of technique for each one of my cards. So right underneath our Glimmered Sentiment from the Glimmering Sentiments set, I'm going to stamp a small phrase, and it just kind of helps fill in the card design. I didn't do a whole lot around the edges of the card, other than we've stamped that fun Flannel Life background to give it a little something, but I didn't add a scattering of sequins or jewels or Nouveau crystal drops or anything like that. I kept the whole focus of the card on this pull-up wreath and then the sentiment inside. So I've stamped another little phrase there that's going to read, "You're stronger than you think." I'm going to go ahead and emboss this with white embossing powder as well. And then our sentiment, just like we did with the wreath, we want to make sure that we're only adding adhesive to the bottom half of the sentiment and not the top half, because we don't want it to lie flat because it's going to pop up when we pull the window. So I'm going to kind of play with it. I'm going to make sure it's all looking good. And that looks fantastic. I love how this looks. The flowers are amazing. Spellbinders does the best little teeny tiny flower dies. I absolutely love them. Now, you don't have to do this. You can adhere your window directly to your background if you want to, but I think the sliding mechanism works the best if you put a little foam adhesive on the back of the sliding window. So you don't want to put it right next to the interactive slider, but you want to cover the 3 edges that aren't interactive. So the 2 sides and the bottom. I'm just using some nice thin foam adhesive here, and then I'll peel off the backing paper and then pop this right on to my background. You can see that I have only covered those 3 sides with my foam adhesive. The foam adhesive simply makes it just a little simpler to grab hold of that pull tab, I think, and I think it makes the sliding window move just a little easier. There's what it looks like. Isn't that cute? Love, love these dies and love these sentiments. I finished my card with a little twine at the top to help make pulling it easier. Let's go ahead and create another card here, mostly on camera. This one is going to be the Congrats card. This one I did in shades of red, white, and blue, and I think it could work for all kinds of congratulations type of occasions. Again, I have left my Flannel Life Fun Stampers Journey background in the Misty, and I'm simply stamping blue on blue. This time, for the background of our card, I'm using a little Catalina Splash Fun Stampers Journey cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and score all of those score lines on the sliding window, just like I did for the first card. Place that 1/8 inch score tape on that little back flap, and then attach our sliding tag, or our sliding mechanism. This is what pulls the window up. I'm lining it up with the top of my sliding window and then pressing it down in place. And then I like to take my bone folder and go over that to make sure it's secure. That little tag piece is only attached on that little bottom scored flap on the sliding window. I foiled the sentiment, "Congrats, you did it," for this design. We'll take that coordinating die, which die cuts the sentiments perfectly, and go ahead and die cut that. I wasn't super happy with how that foiled, so I went ahead and foiled it one more time. I had forgotten to use the shim, and I really think the shim makes all the difference. If you don't have a thin sheet of plastic, a sheet of cardstock, maybe two. Don't ever try to put it through your Spellbinders die cutting machine if it won't go. But if you can, put a sheet or two and make sure that it'll roll through. And I think it really helps the impression be perfect. This wreath is going to be created from some silver specialty cardstock from Fun Stampers Journey, and we're going to decorate it with red, white, and blue stars and confetti pieces. Now, the large die of the month club kit for June that I'm using for all this die cutting here comes with loads of different themed accessories that you can embellish your wreaths with. I only did 4 cards today, but you could totally do more. There are some fall leaves that would be darling, shamrocks, a little acorn, balloons, and snowflakes that I did not use. So I am using the flowers and leaves, the eggs and bunnies, the stars and the confetti, and the hearts for my card today. You just get so many awesome dies in this die set. Just like I did before, we are going to layer all these fun little pieces and build our wreath. This card is created exactly like the last one. I did incorporate a little confetti into this one just to give it a little something. So I added some little tiny silver star confetti to the center of my die cut stars and then kind of throughout, but I didn't go overboard, just a few here and there. The sentiments that I'm going to stamp underneath the "Congrats, you did it" glimmered sentiment, I'm going to stamp "I'm behind you 100%, and we'll emboss that. And on the inside it reads, "You can do anything you put your mind to." So again, kind of an encouragement, but more obviously along the congratulations route. I think maybe even would work great for graduations or something like that. These little confetti pieces would absolutely work with lots of the different images, depending on what colors you die cut them with or what you use them with. I could see them used with almost any of the dies in this fun little set. Next, I'm going to create an Easter themed card, which I know we're not anywhere near Easter right now, but it's always great to have those on hand. And I couldn't resist the darling little bunnies. I went ahead and glimmered my remaining 2 sentiments that I'm going to use today. The "You Brighten My Day" sentiment, which we will use for our Easter card, and the "So Sweet of You," which we're going to use for our love or Valentine's themed card. When you are die cutting with the coordinating dies for any glimmered image, be sure you don't place the temporary tape. I'm using some Post-it tape, but if you're using washi or painter's tape or any of those things, make sure you don't place that over the glimmered image because it could pull up some of the glimmer and dull your image. So make sure it's just on the die only. There is my cute little Easter window, absolutely darling. The sentiments for this one read, some bunny loves you. And then when you open it, you'll always be someone extra special to me. Again, these sentiments are all from a Simon Says stamp set. For the background of this card, I used Banana Cream cardstock, which is this awesome yellow. And once I had assembled all of the eggs and the cute bunnies, I went in with a black gel pen and added the bunny's eyes. I think this little bunny head, and there's actually two different ones, are absolutely darling. I love them. And there's the finished card design. Look how cute that is when it pulls up to reveal the sentiment inside. Here's a look at the congrats card all finished, and another look at the wishing you well sentiment card all finished. Finally, here is the so sweet Valentine's love themed card. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this video showcasing the Spellbinders Glimmer Hot Foil Kit of the Month for July 2019 called Glimmering Sentiments. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel to never miss a card making or paper crafting video. Here are a couple more videos featuring Spellbinders Glimmer hot foil plates that you might be interested in. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.